Business Foundations for Mums, with me, Kate Butcher, is the podcast to listen to if you are a mum who is ready to launch your business, not sure where to start, or wanting to turn that sideline into something more serious. It will be full of practical tips, mindset advice, and inspirational and honest interviews with mums who are juggling business and motherhood, supporting mums in business to turn your dream into a reality. And hello and welcome to today's podcast. Today we have Kat Wilmore joining us, and Kat is from Plant-Based Paintings, who, well, as you can tell from the name, creates amazing plant-based paintings. So welcome to the podcast today, Kat. First and foremost, please can you tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and how that all fits in with family life for you?
Sure. Yeah. So, my name's Kat. I run Plant-Based Paintings, as you say. So I have two children, 8 and 6, and live with them and my husband. And I create all acrylic art, and it's all like originals, prints, and I make cards. And I'm also looking into making like homewares, things like tea towels and just pretty things for around the home. And yeah, that's it basically. It's just all very bright coloured. And try to make it as joyful and plant themed as possible. I'm really inspired by nature and my garden, and I love gardening, so that's kind of my inspiration. But it's a limitless subject. It seems like it's quite a narrow niche, but actually there's a lot to it. So you can never run out of different leaves and plants, and so yeah, it's all good.
Fantastic. And in terms of family, so you've got two small children. How does the business fit in with your family for you?
So when I started, basically, I've just hit my 5th birthday of my business. So when I first started, it was I had a very, very small baby and a toddler. So it was a lot more chaotic, I have to say. But I really wanted to find something that worked around them. And so I was kind of looking for things that I could do around them at the time. And I really knew that I wanted to work for myself, but I wasn't sure what to do. And then I'd given up on my art because I'd studied art at university, and then I'd given up because I just thought that it wasn't possible for me to pursue. I got some really bad advice, and I just thought, oh, it's not possible. So I went into kind of a corporate career and didn't think about my art. And then when I was at home on maternity leave, I decided actually, I do want to do something for myself. And I just had the idea that I would do some art and give it a go. And then as soon as I started painting again, I just thought, oh, do you know what, this is what I can do, and why not try? So it kind of ignited that spark of creativity. So yeah, I mean, at first it was just like, can I sell some work? Can I do this around my children? And now it very much fits into how our whole week goes. So if they've got like a sports day, or this week they've got like a recorder recital, which will be a joy, I'm sure.
Absolutely. We love a recorder.
Oh yes. The practicing is joyful. But it means that I can work in a way which I literally I plan my week, I sort of time block it all out, and I can make sure that I'm there for those moments with them. So in terms of how it works around my life now, it works really well. But I have to say, the first couple of years when they were not at school, obviously that was very much more difficult. And it was very much a case of just trying to do 1 or 2 things a day that I could. So I very much was of the mindset of like, okay, how can I just do 1 or 2 things to move my business forward every day? And that might have even just been watching or listening to a podcast like yourself, watching a YouTube tutorial, doing like 10 minutes of painting when they're in bed or when they're napping. And it's very much been pieced together around them. But I do feel like as looking back on it now, I just feel like that first few years of it being incredibly difficult and really trying to snatch those tiny moments to try and build a business and try and build something that what I was passionate about, that has started to really pay off now in terms of being able to, as I say, work around them, and be able to take them away and do things with them. And and it just, and it all kind of works now. Although there's always a juggle, as we were saying before, like, you know, there's always that you can't be everywhere at once, so there is always like payoffs and trying to just navigate the whole thing. So yeah,
absolutely. It's something that, I mean, I talk about far too much, the fact that there is no such thing as balance, is there? There's never going to be that perfect balance. But I love that idea that you said of snatching moments here and there, which I think is when you've got your little ones at home, when you're building a business and they're really small and they are there, it is literally a case of snatching those little moments and taking those moments when you can, whether it's during nap time, whether it's once they've gone to bed in the evening, whether it's when they're sitting and playing nicely together for a few minutes and you just think, oh, perfect, I've just got a couple of minutes just to see how much I can get done before they start destroying something. Or certainly the case with my son, he would always just start destroying something and it would be it would take me away. But it's definitely a big juggle, but it's something that's absolutely a good way to do it. And I think that one thing a day is a brilliant way to look at it. Just getting a task done a day.
And I think that also if you do have very small children and you're in that haze of, you know, not getting very much sleep, and you want to do something you want to carve something out that's for you as well. And I think for me, my business was always something that was something for me that like was able to keep me grounded in myself, because I think sometimes we can completely lose who we are to just being a mum and just doing that daily grind of it. So I do think that, you know, having that, even if your progress is very slow, you will find that, you know, there will be time in future, like now they are at school, that you will get more time. But those first few years, you do just have to try and do whatever you can to just move the needle a little bit. Because I think if you just wait until they're a bit older, then you could end up waiting forever. I do think there's never a perfect time, is there? There's always going to be
never
something,
a perfect time.
So exactly, I started, then there was COVID, and there was homeschooling, and you know, and obviously everyone was shopping online, so it was like my busiest time at that point. At that point, it would be kind of the busiest I had ever been at that point. And then just think, I also need to homeschool this child. How's that going to work? So it's there's always going to be challenges, and so I think that it's better to start in a small way and just do what you can than to keep putting off what could potentially be a dream fulfilled, because you just don't know what's going to happen, and you just got to give it a go, haven't you, really, and see.
100%. That's totally my way of looking at it. Exactly that. You've just got to jump in and do it, because if you do wait, you will never find the right time, the perfect time. It's about taking that leap and just doing it. And you don't have to do it, you know, if you've got a full-time job or if you've got other commitments, you don't have to jump all in on your business if you're not in a position to do so to start with. You can just do those small things a little bit every single day towards it, which will get you there in the end. And I think it's really interesting, sort of saying at the beginning it was very slow progress for you. But a lot of people I meet who maybe have a small business and they're in that stage where they're just making a tiny bit of progress each day or each week, quite often we'll sort of talk about, well, it's not really a business. And I think it's really important to recognize it doesn't matter how big your business is, how small your business is, how slowly you're growing. It's still a business, right from the moment that you first start to do what it is that you do. It's so important to acknowledge that and to see that this is something, like you say, for you. It's really important to have that something else.
I totally agree.
Away from mum duties.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's I do think it's important to treat it as a business from the very beginning, because I do think, especially with something creative like art, you have to see that vision for what it could be before anyone else can see it, because everybody else will say, oh, well, that's like not very realistic, or, you know, be sensible. And you think, actually, sometimes you have to see a much bigger vision of what it could be, and have a goal of what you're going to do. And even if nobody else is kind of on board with it yet, you've just got to keep going, because once you have found more success, people will always go, oh yeah, I knew you could do it. But those, you know, when you are first starting, people will treat it like a hobby, and people are like, oh, you're still doing that like nice hobby, or people just think I'm a stay-at-home mum sometimes, and not that I'm just a stay-at-home mum, it's obviously like the biggest job in the world, but like people didn't take me seriously as it was a job, even though I was doing it as a job. So yeah, you are going to have people that don't take you seriously, or don't really think that it's a proper pursuit. But I just think that, yeah, you have to sort of instill that in yourself first, don't you? And believe that you have to just have that belief that it's going to work out, because there are days where you feel like, oh, is this going to work? You obviously have days of self-doubt and imposter syndrome and all of those things. We all feel that. But you do have to think, okay, I have a bigger goal and a bigger vision for this. I will make it work, even if it takes me 10, 15 years, even if I just do it slowly, and then I wait and, I just do little bits until the children are a lot older. At least I will have made some groundwork. I would have made some progress towards what I want to do. So I do think that, just taking it slowly, but believing in what you are doing, and doing something you really care about is really important, isn't it? Because I think if you don't have that, if you don't have that passion for it, it's not going to bring you through the hardest moments, because there are difficult times. And like now with, there's people are saying that it's really difficult with the economy, and like, because we've got elections coming up and people don't want to buy so much, and there's always going to be challenges. And so it's navigating through those challenges and working out ways of navigating that. And I think if you don't have a very clear strategy for moving forward, then obviously that's when things like that can really knock you. So it's just a case of moving on and juggle as much as possible.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's interesting as well, you sort of talked about other people maybe not taking it as seriously, or not necessarily treating it as your full-time job as you do. And one of the things that I have found, both personally but also heard a lot, I can't say the word, anecdotally. So yeah, one of the things that I have experienced personally and that I have heard anecdotally is that a lot of mums who are working from home or run their business from home have friends and family who just think, like you say, that they are at home. And so when you do work from home, and actually my husband's just as guilty, he will come home and say, you didn't do anything around the house today? No, because I was working. Yeah, but you work from home, so why didn't you do the housework as well? Because I was working. And we have these conversations that go around in circles, or people just think they can just drop by for a coffee because you're at home, or oh, can you just come and help out at this thing at school, or whatever it might be, because you're at home. And it's not a case of you're at home, it's a case of you are working from home.
Absolutely.
Which is a completely different thing. It's really great to have that flexibility within your business, so that actually when you do want to set aside some time to go to the kids' sports days, or go in for the recorder recital, that you've got the opportunity to do that, because you can plan your own time. But actually, like you say, you plan your time, I plan my time, so my time is taken up. And if someone just drops around for a coffee, I'm like, that's my plan thrown out of the window. Help, do that. That completely throws my day out.
Absolutely.
So I think it's getting people to understand that and setting those boundaries for other people as well, isn't it? A lot of the time.
It is. There's definitely an expectation, isn't it, that you're just kind of not really doing a lot when you're at home. But when it's your business and your passion, and you really, really want to make it work, I don't think there's anyone more motivated than that, personally. Like I think when the kids were small, going back to that, I didn't watch Netflix for pretty much a year. I didn't really go out very much. There's sacrifices to be made to make sure that you can do what you can do. And now I do have more time to be able to occasionally sit down and watch TV, but I still, a lot of times, I want to do the work because I enjoy it and I don't mind putting the hours in. But I have found that I've got like a planner for the year, and I like literally time block everything out. So, and I give myself extra time blocking space, so that I know I've got a bit of extra space in the week. So if things do suddenly, if somebody does just turn up or something happens, then you can try and plan for it. But obviously, best laid plans, sometimes everything goes wrong. But you know, there's always a Monday, isn't there? You can always start again on Monday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I like that view of Monday being your fresh start. It was something I talked about. I currently have a 5 a.m. accountability group for I was going to say mums in business, but we've got a couple of other people who aren't mums in the group as well, and a dad in the group, but it's a group for those who want to get up at 5 a.m. or want the morning inspiration and motivation. And that's exactly what I was posting in there this morning, was about, it's Monday morning. How do you feel about Mondays? What's your mindset around Mondays? For lots of people, it's like, oh, it's Monday morning, I have to get out of bed. But when it's your own business and you've got that passion that you were just talking about, it's really exciting to get out of bed on a Monday morning and go, right, what does this week hold? I've got a really exciting week coming up. What's to come? So you do change your whole perspective, I think, on Monday mornings when you have your own business that you really love doing. And you really enjoy
I don't hate Mondays at all. I plan my week again with the planning, but I do really try and plan it so that I do things that I enjoy doing on a Monday, and you know, I might do things that I don't want to do so much on other days, or you know, I try and make it nice for myself because I'm the one that's choosing what I do on each day. So you can be in control of that, can't you, and make it nice. But yeah, I mean, I do think as well, you've got to review things sometimes and think, actually, am I still enjoying what I'm doing, and is my week looking like I want it to? Because I think sometimes we can get bogged down in things and start doing things a certain way, and then as things change, you do have to kind of adapt, don't you, and think, actually, is this still serving me? Am I still enjoying it? You know, not the painting so much, but just some of the things that we do around it, you know, like all the social media and things. Do we need to be there like 24/7? Is that, are you happy doing that all the time? You know, I find that I schedule a lot of my social media so that I can do it all in one, and then I'll pop on to do reels and things. But I do try and do those sort of things in bulk, and then try and do other things that I really enjoy, and I think that keeps it fresh and makes it a lot more doable.
It's a really good way to do it. I think scheduling your social media in advance is such a good use of time. And if you're somebody who maybe struggles to get the creative juices going for your social media, and to really sort of, it can be great to sort of have a day when you are feeling creative to go, right, I'm in the right frame of mind. I'm just going to smash out as much social media as I can right now.
That's it, yeah. Because then you're in the right frame of mind, aren't you? To you're actually in a mood to write that copy and be actually engaging with people. Because I do think if you show up in a way where you kind of just like, oh, you know, I've got a post today, and you're just trying to force something, it's so obvious, isn't it? Because you think, oh, I don't know what I'm going to write today, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, and I always felt that it was quite difficult to show up consistently with that, because I'd want to post the time that I need to post is the time when I'm literally getting the kids ready for school. So actually, I'd always be trying to write a post and try and be like, get your shoes on. And it was just chaos. So yeah, now I just think, okay, I'm gonna get all that done, and then, you know, having focused time has been quite a game changer in the last few months, really, is that I go, okay, this is the time to do the shoes, and then this will be the time to do the social media, and not trying to answer an email whilst the kids are also going, mummy, can you play with me, and mummy, can you do this, like, you know, because I think we're all, you know, we all do that at times, don't we, where something comes in and your phone's always there, and you're like, oh, okay, this needs attention right now. And yeah, so I'm trying to get better at just, you know, just splitting things into different areas and then focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah, I think you're right. There will always be times. I was out with a friend, it was Sunday yesterday, so obviously this episode will go out on a Tuesday, but we are on Monday today, so it was Sunday yesterday, and I was with a friend. We the kids were playing together, and we were catching up. Haven't seen each other for, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years, and we were having a really good catch up, and suddenly my phone pinged, and you just sort of capture a glimpse who it is out of the corner of your eye and think, oh God, I need to respond to this one. So it was a case of, I'm really sorry, I've just got to respond to this really quickly. And oh yes, no, it was something that needed responding to pretty quickly and pretty urgently. And so it was a case of, let me just deal with this. And you do have to sometimes just step away. And I think friends and family do start to understand a little bit. I bit my mum's head off the other day because told me off for being on my phone too much, and I was like, it's urgent, I'm doing something for my business. It's her bugbear. She gets really frustrated. She doesn't like people looking at their mobile phones because she doesn't really use those very much at all. Whenever, you know, and I can sit there for 2 hours and not look at my mobile phone, and I'll pick it up and glance at it, and she'll straight away go, oh, do you have to look at your mobile phone? Yes, I do right now. It's really
isn't it?
There was something, you know, something had gone on, something had happened on my, you know, a payment link wasn't working, and someone was trying to pay to book onto something, and I was like, I need to get it sorted, and I need to do it now. But yes, it was it's sometimes, it can be quite frustrating, and it can get in the way of family life, although we do try, as you say, to try and, I think, separating the two into different times.
That's helped me a lot, because I think that, you know, it's only really in the last year or so that I have tried to, you know, that I've bought a planner, and I've tried to get everything really organized with my time, because I think before that it was just trying to do everything and be everywhere and be everything all at once. And actually it is just kind of a recipe for burnout, really, isn't it, when you are trying to do everything and you're always on, because, you know, you need to be there with the kids all the time, and then you can be getting emails late into the night, and it's hard to switch off sometimes too, isn't it? So it's hard to try and navigate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, putting those boundaries in place for yourself would be a really good one, definitely. And making sure that you know, if you get up at a certain time, don't look at your phone until however, you know, whatever time it might be, or leave your phone downstairs at night time and have a different kind of alarm or whatever. There's all sorts of things, small things you can put in place. If I'm working to a deadline, if I'm working on stuff for clients, I tend to either have my phone face down and on silent, so I don't know. I always have it on vibrate mode, so if the school phones and they're phoning persistently, I'll go, oh, someone is actually trying to get hold of me. But it means I don't notice those little red dots pinging up from social media, and I don't notice the text messages that are coming through and the WhatsApps. And then I wait until I'm on a moment where I am actually taking a little pause, and then I can look at that stuff. So that for me is, you know, the phone is there, but it's face down. Or if I'm doing something like now on a podcast interview, I don't want it to interfere with the computer, so I've got my phone in the next room on silent, so I won't be disturbed. Even the vibration isn't going to disturb me, so it shouldn't interrupt the podcast interview. I have accidentally at times forgotten to turn an alarm off. An alarm has gone off in the middle of recording, and I'm like, really? No, not now. Most of the time it's quite good to try and just detach from the constant pull and call of the things that you need to do, and put your own boundaries in place. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's it is a lot sometimes, but you know, I do feel like we are at a time where we have got a huge opportunity as well. So as much as I'm saying, like, you know, it's sometimes exhausting to be always on social media and things like that, the flip side of that is that going back to my kind of original story, when I started and I was at university, it was like early 2000s, and we didn't have the social media and the people to inspire us, and, you know, looking at other people that were doing it. And so the reason that I gave up initially with my art is that there were no people doing it that I could see. There was no social media, there was no YouTube, there wasn't really podcasting in the same way. I don't think there was anything like that I can think of. We had sort of basic email, and I think maybe MySpace, and that was probably it. So it, you know, and so now, even though we do have a lot of demands on our time, I do feel like this is a massive opportunity now to connect with people that you just wouldn't be able to. It just, you know, the whole thing just feels more possible than it did then.
We wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast if it wasn't for social media and podcasts, and absolutely.
And the ability to share knowledge with people, and just be able to get inspiration from people, and just see other people do it, you know, and having role models. It has been you know, it's made it feel possible to me, at least. And so as much as it's like, you know, going off all the time, and it's a lot sometimes when I see people like say, oh, you know, I hate social media, like, you know, I have like I find it exhausting at times, and so I try and like navigate that. But I do feel like it's a massive, amazing tool that we just didn't have. And I think sometimes when you speak to people that don't remember a time before it, they kind of take it for granted that it's actually amazing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, our kids wouldn't have a clue what happened in the world pre-internet, would they?
I know, yeah. I feel like I think we're probably the last generation that remembers pre-internet, because it's, you know, that's not going to be a thing anymore, is it?
Exactly. Yeah, I still remember my very first email that I ever sent. I was living in Thailand at the time, and I was able to email home, and it was amazing. I could send an email and it got straight there. You know, up until then I'd been writing these long letters and sending those off. But yeah, amazing. It was
living in Thailand must have been great
before that. Sorry?
Living in Thailand must have been a really great experience.
I'm not even going to start talking about that, because I will end up hijacking the podcast and talking about Thailand for the next 2 hours, and no one will ever escape. But yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. So it still influences my life in many, many ways, which is great.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. I went to India in my 20s for a little bit, and that inspires my art still now, because I remember how the colours, just the vibrancy of colour. I remember getting back into Heathrow and feeling like all the colours had like drained out of the world.
Oh my gosh.
You know, when everything is so vibrant, so colourful, and then you come home and it's like it was a grey, rainy day, and it just felt like there was no colour saturation at all. And it's like, and there's some absolutely beautiful places in England, absolutely, but it's just that day that I came back just was the dreariest day ever. And just that, I do think that travel can really stay with you for forever, really, can't it? I don't think you can ever regret going away. And I'm hoping actually in the next few years to be able to take the kids and travel a lot more, and I'm hoping that I can have the flexibility to do that, because I think you can never get those, you know, you're never going to regret those moments. I don't think.
Exactly. That's my ultimate dream with my business. That's exactly what it's there for. I want it to give us the ability to travel and to explore the world a lot more, definitely, and for my children to have some of the same experiences, or their own versions of some of the experiences that I've had.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
much the same, those memories do stay with you, because I remember stepping out of the airport in Bangkok when I first arrived in Thailand, and I remember being hit by the heat and the smell, and I can remember both of those things so vividly, the heat and the smell. If I can still really remember.
I've been there. I remember that too. I have to say, I remember the absolute chaos of the tuk-tuks and the traffic, and just how somehow nobody actually crashes. I don't quite understand.
No idea. But amazing. So yes, we probably should stop talking about this, because otherwise
I know. Sorry, I'm totally derailed the podcast. Sorry.
No, because I would be just as guilty of having that conversation and steering it down that road, definitely. Which is amazing.
I mean, that's why we have I do think that's why sometimes the challenges of having your own business, it's outweighed by things like that, where you can think, you know what, in a few years I would like to do this, I would like to take my kids here, I would like to do this, and then you've got the freedom to go, actually, do you know what, I can build towards that, I can make that happen, I can carve out that time, I can earn that money, you can try and do that for yourself. And I think if you're working for someone else, then obviously you've got the limitations of, can I get that time off? I've got to ask for it, I've got to plan it in, is it going to be possible? And if I take a break from my career, is that going to mean that somebody else takes my place? Or so there's a lot of benefits, I think, to trying to do things on your own, and being able to make it more of a lifestyle, really, than anything else.
Absolutely. So, definitely. And I mean, I don't know about you, but already, I think ahead, that if there comes a time when, I'm going to go off and I'm going to go traveling with my kids for a period of time, how will my business be able to carry on running? And I'm looking ahead at ways that I can ensure that it does, that it can keep ticking over, and it can keep bringing in the income that it brings in, and continue to work, so that I can still travel and the business will run itself effectively, or carry on working without me necessarily having to be on hand or present every single day. So
this is it. But then again, that's a good thing about this digital age that we're in, is that you can record things, you can have things like this podcast that, once you've recorded it, is there and people can access it, and you've got that out there, haven't you? And people can enjoy it and learn from it over however long it's up, so once things are out and there, you can be present, you can be there, without necessarily having to be there.
There's nothing to stop you creating that content and posting that content when you're somewhere else in the world.
Well, this is it. Yeah, exactly. So you can, you could be doing this on the beach.
Exactly. Podcast on the beach. That should be the new iteration in a couple of years' time. The podcast on the beach.
Absolutely. Why not? But yeah, so
Amazing.
we are very lucky, I think, to live in this time and have the opportunities that we do. So yeah, it's all good.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit earlier on about a big part of the incentives for starting your business was wanting to get something back for yourself, but also wanting to tap back into that creativity that you had when you were younger, and that you'd been sort of, I suppose, directed away from to go into a more corporate career. Was there anything else that really sort of pushed you into deciding to start your own business?
It was funny, really, because I basically I was working in retail sales, and it was like just evenings and weekends, and just not, it wasn't compatible at all with having children. And so I kind of knew that I wanted to leave, but I stayed. When my first daughter was born, I went back to work, and I stayed for a lot longer than I probably should have done. But then when my second was born, I was on maternity leave, and I thought, I really need to do something else. This isn't going to work for me. And so I decided that I was going to try and find something else to do, but I didn't know what. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to try and trust that something is going to show up, because I really have no concept of what is this going to be. I don't know. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to look around and be open-minded to what's going to come up. And then I kind of had a couple of weekends where I didn't really think about it. And then I went to like a local boot fair where I was looking for like different bargains and stuff. And I found some picture frames for my lounge, got these picture frames home. And then I thought, oh, I could like paint something to go in those frames. And it just sort of came to me that I could paint something to go in them. And then I just did paint something. I painted some succulent plants that were on my table. And then once I did that, I just got this massive spark of, oh, this is like something that I really love. It was like that passion came back. And it was like a real moment of like, oh, this is what I should be doing. And so it all kind of came together in a really weird way, because I was kind of I was open to looking for something new, but then that just kind of turned up. And then I thought, oh yeah, my art, I haven't done this for like 16, 17 odd years, and I hadn't thought about it at all. And so it was very, it was very odd, where it just kind of like popped into my head, and then I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. So it was a bit of a moment where I just decided that was how it was going to go. And my initial goal was just, can I sell like one piece of work? Maybe like, imagine if it was on someone's wall. That was my first kind of plan of like, could this actually be a thing? And then once I'd made a few sales, I thought, well, if I can sell a few, then I can sell more than a few. You can scale it up at that point, can't you? So and then I started getting a bit more confident with it. But but then the other thing that happened was that as I was then going to put my notice in, I got an email saying, oh, we're actually like planning redundancies. And then I ended up taking redundancy from my job. So it was kind of like, well, that was going to end anyway. And it all just came together all at once, which was really odd. Looking back on it now, it just all sort of fell into place within a few weeks of me just deciding I need to find something. And yeah, it was just kind of a bizarre situation where it all just sort of fell into place. Wow. But it just felt like the right thing at the time as well, because I just thought, yeah, I could do this around the children. And the one thing I was like absolutely adamant about was that I need to find something that works around them, because especially with my first daughter, my husband was looking after her a lot, and she was sort of bonding with him loads, and I just felt like I was not there. And I'd be at work, and I was just absolutely desperate for my shift to end so I could just get home. And you know what it's like when you just feel like you just want to get back when they're really small babies, you just want to get back to them. And I just didn't want to feel like that. I was just like, no, I don't want to miss out. So yeah.
So it sounds like the stars literally all aligned and said, here you go, this is what you should be doing.
Oh no, it honestly felt like that. It was really strange. It was just like a weird set of events, that just sort of happened. And weirdly, when I left university, and I just thought, oh, you know, I couldn't see a path forward for my art at all. I got really bad advice. They said that it was like, unless you're, you know, in a top London gallery somewhere, you're just not going to get anywhere. And, you know, there was like a lot of negativity with my tutors. And so I just didn't think it was possible. And so I'd really parked that in my head about doing art at all. I didn't paint and draw as a hobby. I just gave up, didn't try, didn't think about it for all that time. So it was kind of something that was like in me all the time, but I just never acted on it. I just didn't think about it. So I think sometimes the things that we do when we're like children and young adults, things that really we enjoy, we kind of like lose, don't we, over time? And you just think, oh, I've got to be an adult now and do proper things and go and do things that are sensible. And then actually it's sometimes the things that we have kind of forgotten about that are the things that we really enjoyed the most when we were growing up. And I think sometimes it's nice to get back to that, even if it is a hobby or whatever you want to do, just having something where you have a few moments for yourself, you know. So yeah, it's definitely, I'm definitely glad that things have worked out as they have, but it does feel like it was all kind of a bit of a happy accident in some ways. It's just all
amazing.
happened.
Very serendipitous.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
But yeah, so yeah, and I sometimes people say, oh, you know, I've got no idea what I want to do, and it is hard sometimes, isn't it, to know what you want to do. And I think that the other thing to say is that is not too late ever, even if you've not done something for a long time. There's not really any reason why you can't just start. And you know, sometimes you see people in their 60s and 70s start new businesses, and there's just no reason to not try at any age.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely.
so
And I think I mentioned to you when we spoke last time that
yeah,
I used to do some work with a lady who has a fantastic podcast called Creativity Found.
yeah,
It's a lady called Claire Waite Brown, and she interviews people in exactly that situation, people who have had some form of creativity that they've maybe suppressed because they were told to go into this career or pushed into doing something else or told their art would never work, and they've gone off and done something else, and they've come back to it and refound what their passion was and made something wonderful out of it. And it's a really lovely podcast to listen to for anyone who I think is in that position or thinking about going back to doing something creative, or has, you know, had to move away from something creative and craves going back to it. It's a really good listen, definitely.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that one out, because I think there's a lot of people, I think that sometimes you are told at schools, and you know, we've all had bad teachers, haven't we? Like everyone's had a bad teacher at some point, and sometimes it's just like a you know, it can be like a teacher or a parent or someone at an early age that'll say something to you, and that will become your reality, where you just think, oh, actually, yes, I can't do that, or you know, you sort of decide that that person's opinion is true. And actually sometimes we have to let go of the opinions of somebody from 20, 30 years ago, who, you know, the people that say actually you can't do it, and you just think, well, actually you can, and times have changed, and why not, you know, why not try? So I'm really happy to see that there is a bit of a resurgence now of people trying to be more creative and doing what really lights them up. But I do also think that during the COVID time, I think that people have gone from thinking that they had a secure job and, well, you know, I've taken the sensible route, I've gone through the, you know, the sensible option, they've done that, and then it can all be taken away with, you know, suddenly jobs disappearing and things, or just something happens in life which really makes you reassess. So actually nothing's really safe and secure, is it? So why not try doing something that you really care about? So I do think that maybe now more than ever, people are starting to think, actually, what have I got to lose? Why not just try? So I do think that's probably why there's more people trying to really make it work, and seeing other people do it. And that, I just think that's really powerful, because when you've got other people doing it, then it means it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes a big difference.
Indeed, it does. It does. So would you say that there is a particular piece of advice that you have been given since you started in business that really mattered to you? What was the best bit of advice, I suppose, that you've been given?
I think the biggest piece of advice has been that you can be, that if you just are patient, and there is enough time for you to succeed. Like, so if you believe that you will be successful at some point, then it doesn't matter when that happens. Like, I think not focusing on trying to make like a business work in the first month, and it has to be absolutely, I have to nail this right now. You know, I think it's okay to spend a lot more time planning and just anticipating. You know, so I just think that, yeah, having patience and being consistent, that's the best piece of advice that I've had. So,
absolutely. That's such good advice, and I think you're quite right as well. It is about that patience and that consistency. And I've worked with a couple of people who sort of said, well, I've been in business for 2 or 3 months now, and I've only got 5 clients. And you kind of think, well, actually, you know, that's pretty good going, you know, for where you are. But I think a lot of people do go into business with the delusion that I'm going to start a business and I'm going to have clients and I'm going to be booked out from day one and I'm going to be so busy. And yes, you are going to be so busy, but you need to be busy laying those foundations and growing that business and getting out there and marketing yourself and finding the new clients and going out and getting them. And I do remember a business I had a while back where, you know, we set up a website and we set up our social media and we started putting blog posts out, and then we went, what now? Where are the clients? We didn't know anything about sales and reaching out to people and finding the right target market, finding where they were and actually going out and reaching out to them. It takes a lot of work, but that work doesn't necessarily mean clients straight away. You know, it does take time to grow and build.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, like there's the saying like fail faster, like where you know, you make mistakes and you just move on like as quickly as you can. You just think, okay, reassess it and then keep going. Because I think sometimes we can get really focused on what isn't working and not take a step back and go, okay, that's not worked. Because I do think that as well, anyone that's had a successful business has made loads of mistakes and loads of failures along the way. And I think that doesn't always get broadcast because people are always like wanting to show their best self. Everything's great, you know, you want to put like the shiny coating on it. But I do think that it's totally normal to have failures and things that don't work and products that don't sell and just things that don't work, you know. And I think that the quicker you can go, okay, that didn't work, why didn't it work, how can I learn from it, let's move on, as quickly as you can do that, then the better, because then you're not procrastinating and sort of going over what's not working. So yeah, that's so fail faster is probably my favorite quote that somebody told me a while ago as well. So yeah, that one's quite a nice one.
Definitely. Yeah, and that I think was on the podcast a little while ago, one of the ladies who we interviewed, that was her best bit of advice that she was given was fail faster. Exactly that. And I think it is so good to look at your mistakes, look at what didn't work, change it, shift it, find something that works and carry on going. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Do you have a favorite business tool that you use at all in your business, Kat?
So I have to say it's probably like universal, but I love Canva.
I think I just need to just make my podcast into an advert for Canva.
I know.
Because, you know, 95% of people come on and go, Canva.
But it's so good. It's so good. I mean, I do so much with it, and you know, yeah, I've just done so much with it. And before I did art, I did graphic design for a couple of years, and so it really like taps into that for me, that I get to just design everything myself. I just get it looking exactly how I want. And actually I think I'd struggle to, you know, obviously I know that there's some amazing graphic designers out there, but I think I'd struggle to let somebody else do it. So yeah, I love Canva because it's great to have a graphic designer, you know, professional graphic designer. But yeah, because I did graphic design before I studied art, it's something that I love to do. I love to be able to just create it and make it exactly how I want it. And yeah, and it's great. I just think it's very, very useful. And I particularly love like some of the new AI tools on there are insane, you know, like the background removers and just saying like, can I be holding something else instead of this thing? And it just does it. And I'm just not quite sure how it does it, but yeah.
It's very, very clever, isn't it? So clever.
It is. Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And do you have a favorite book recommendation that you would recommend to any mums who are going into business, whether it's a business book or a personal development book?
Yeah. So my pick for the book is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I would say that I would recommend anyone read it, even if you're not an artist, because it's all about taking time for yourself, journaling, and she's all about writing 2 or 3 pages of A4 every morning if you can, to just brain dump everything and just get out of your own way and just let go of a lot of other things that have happened, and just that will then allow your brain to be more creative. And that's her whole thing. And since I've been doing that and following her advice, it's been amazing. It's been a massive game changer. And actually some days nothing comes out, and then some days loads of stuff comes out and you're like, oh, actually I've got a new idea for something, or actually I didn't realize I was feeling that way, or it just allows your brain to process stuff and then get clear on things. And I just think that even if you don't feel like you're a particularly creative person, I do think that just being in business generally is a creative pursuit, even if you don't feel like it is, because of how much we have to problem solve and find new ways and find solutions to things. And just being a mum is pretty creative as well, isn't it? Because it's having to actually navigate just a whole bunch of stuff at once.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I really recommend that book. I think it's a lovely book, and it's the other one is to take yourself out on a date once a week, so you can like go for a walk, something that's just go and have a bath, that's just something for you, that might even just be 10 minutes, but it's taking that time for yourself. And I think as parents we need to do that more often and not feel guilty about it, because I think for the longest time I'd be like, I can't do anything apart from look after the children, but actually just anything that you can do that makes you feel good and lights you up, just do it, even for a little bit.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that 100%. That's such good advice, and I think a really good book recommendation. I haven't read it. It's on my wish list. I have got about 80 books on my wish list at the moment. It is on my wish list, and it's one I've heard recommended. I've not heard about it for a while actually, but it's one that I remember was recommended several times to me a few years ago. And I never got around to that one, so yes, I will.
It's been around for a while, and you can get it on audiobook as well, which I find is quite useful. So it's quite nice to dip in and out. So
no, I think a lot of people are a lot of people are like me, in that they struggle to maybe know what to do when you're journaling, know what to write down, and I think having someone to guide you through a process that can be really helpful, but still gives you that freedom to write what you want to be writing is so powerful. That's a really good recommendation. Thank you.
And something that somebody else recommended to me, I can't remember who said this, but they said it's okay to just write, I don't know what to write. You can just write, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write, and then maybe that's all that you write that day, but you've written something. So some days I've only done a couple of sentences. She recommends 2 to 3 pages. Sometimes you can't always get 2 to 3 pages out, but sometimes it will go to loads of pages and you have loads of ideas and loads of stuff will come out. So it's just really nice to have something where you can just dump your thoughts into paper. So that it's just not everything in your head at once, because it's a lot, isn't it? Everything's it's just, there's a lot going on. So.
I do brain dump actually, and I suppose that is a similar process, maybe not sort of through her process, but brain dumping is something I recommend quite often to others to do as well. And I do myself. It's again, like you say, it's that process of getting everything out of your head and onto paper. And when it's on paper, and when you've got a list of things that were on your mental to-do list, and you make them into a physical to-do list, it removes the pressure of having to remember all of that stuff and take some of the stuff out of your head that's just clogging it. It does. It clogs up your brain, doesn't it? All the stuff you have to remember. So.
And I just think it frees you up for new ideas to come, because when you're constantly thinking of all the things you've got to do and everything that's on your mind, it doesn't feel like there's any space left for new creative ideas to come. So it does help to just get that out really and make some space. So
that's a really good recommendation. Thank you so much, Kat.
No worries.
So before we finish, please can you let us know where everybody can find you if they want to come and look you up?
Sure, so at the moment they can grab my free colour, basically I've got like a colour like freebie that's on my website. So it's all about using colour in your home. So if you're struggling to use colour, or you want to go a bit bolder with colour, then I have like all the mood boards on there, and it's all about an artist's perception of colour and how you can use it in your home. So if you wanted to go and check that out, it's at www.plantbasedpaintings.com/offer, and then you can go there and then you'll be able to get all the information. So, and that's just to help people to kind of just be a little bit bolder with their interiors, because I think a lot of us, I mean, obviously my art is really colourful and bold, and I think a lot of us tend to be a bit more cautious with colour. And so, yeah, it's trying to break out of the box a little bit and just be a little bit more bold. So
yeah, and that was, could you repeat the web address for us, because it just sort of cut ever so slightly as you were saying.
No worries. So it's www.plantbasedpaintings.com and then /offer. And if you go onto there, you'll be able to grab my free colour guide. And that's just a way of basically, you know, learning about colour and just ways that you can use colour in your home in a more effective way. Yeah,
fabulous. And you're on Instagram as well, aren't you?
I am. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Plant-Based Paintings. So yeah, I tend to post quite a bit on there because that's quite a nice way. It's quite a nice visual way of getting like a big gallery of all my work. So it's probably one of the best places to go to just have a rough idea of the kind of work that I do. So yeah, all very colourful and all plants and flowers themed. So it's very much inspired by my garden and nature, and yeah, just loving the great outdoors basically.
And I think, and it is really colourful, because I know when we were talking before, and I was looking through your Instagram while I was talking, oh look at that, and yeah, look, just sort of being my attention being caught by the bright bold colours of some of the images on there, which is fabulous.
Yeah, no, it's an unlimited subject really, because there's so much inspiration from nature. And yeah, I just find that's my happy place, is just being outdoors and taking that minute.
Yeah. And are you anywhere else other than on your website and Instagram?
So for wholesale, I do have my work in shops sometimes. So like I'm on Fair Wholesale. I've got my own website. I'm on Etsy. So yeah, I'm on a few different places. Lovely. So yeah, but yeah, adding all different places.
We catch you on Facebook as well. Do you do anything?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. So again, it's Plant-Based Paintings, and yeah, you can find me there. So
wonderful. Yeah. That sounds fabulous. Thank you so much for your time today, Kat. It's been wonderful speaking to you.
Yeah, you too.
And hopefully everyone will have gleaned loads of knowledge and useful tips. And I think there's been some real gems in today's interview. So thank you very much for all of that.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us here at Business Foundations for Mums. You can find all of our episodes, show notes and blog posts at businessfoundationsformums.co.uk, and you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook.